Good evening, HMS staff. Just thought I'd drop an email to you tonight, and with that email is this video. It's kind of an idea I've got in terms of trying to communicate. The process for me, I guess I'm thinking is that I would send a weekly email out kind of highlighting the week of what's going on with the activities. And then one of the problems with that for me is that I can see where maybe it's not as I don't know, sincere. Emails sometimes just, if I get in the habit of a rut, I'm going to send you the same thing and I make mistakes or I didn't change something and it just doesn't look real good, whereas this is more authentic. My idea to maybe every week is a 2 to 5 minute video max. Tonight will be longer because I just need to cover some things with the intent that, as I said in our faculty meeting at the beginning of the year, our in-service meeting, I don't know what I don't know, but I want to keep things the way they are. Always looking for ways to improve, but I know that we meet every Monday, but I'm not ready for that tomorrow, so that wouldn't make sense for us to even try and meet. And once I get my feet on the ground and I get things figured out, then we can go through that idea. I don't want to waste your time. I don't like to meet unless there's a reason to meet, and when we meet, I want to meet. I want to get in and out because, again, I value and treasure your time. I know how important it is for you. So with that idea, today I thought I'd just try a little bit of the video thought process with the stuff that's included in the email of what's going on for the week. Please make sure you look over those because there's a lot of things happening already and we just started. Again, huge shout out to everyone. I want to say thank you. It's been a great week. The first 3 days were awesome. If I were to try to reflect on my thought process and the surprise or not surprise, the group that I was probably most concerned about was the sixth graders, because I'm like, I don't even know if I can relate to a sixth grader compared to 30 years of high school kids. And yet the ironic thing is that I think I enjoyed them the most. And if you think about what I said earlier this year, that really makes a lot of sense because Shauna kept saying that, I know I heard her at least once or twice mumble under her breath that they put a sixth grader right next to me. My gosh, they put a sixth grader right next to me. So if that's really true, then it would make sense. That's why I kind of like the sixth grade. Anyway, thanks to all of you for a great first week. It was awesome. And with that intent, in the future, if we're meeting on a Monday or whatever, I will try and give you something that I can make sure that I can tell you so we do not have to cover it the next Monday. We will not meet tomorrow, though. That would make no sense, again, as I don't know exactly what we would talk about. Lots of things to talk about, but I'm just not ready for it. So I like to start out every video with shout-outs because I think it's important to recognize things that I've witnessed. It doesn't mean there weren't great things done by everyone. These are just things I made a mental note to talk about. And again, hold me accountable. If I've forgotten something that you've done, let me know, and I'll shout it out the next week. But I want to shout out to Allison and Melissa for the tech team. I thought that was a great leadership opportunity for our students. On the iPad rollout, I thought that was great. So really appreciated that. Loved watching the kids work with that. We'll talk about the iPad rollout here in a minute. I want to say a shout out to Dina for getting the courtesy committee organization started. I think it's important again for us to have that because we need each other, and it's just sometimes it's nice to have those things that committee offers. Shout out to Brad and Kim for the popcorn. That was a cool surprise on Friday. It's like, man, I'm smelling popcorn. And so thank you to them for that. I think that's huge. A shout out to whoever played the music in the Friday afternoon in the last couple hours. That was another surprise. I'm not sure who did it. We'll talk about music selection because surely we can find some Billy Joel or something. And then shout out to our coaches as we got our first week of practices in. Coaches in the building. Justin and Scott for football. Mr. and Mrs. Purdue for cross country, and as a parent of one of their athletes, good stuff, what I've seen there. Thank you too for that. Awesome. Shout out for volleyball coming up with Allison and Melissa doing that. Bethany Fonestil, shout out to you because of the stuff you've been doing with all the paperwork for the medical profiles and the medical work that has to be done, and I'd appreciate that. Shout out to Jerry Brown because I was just picking Jerry's brain about the idea of how we might make things better, and I was asking some people in the hallway, and he threw out an idea which I thought was cool for potentially making things better for the iPad rollout. But that's something I'll talk about later again. But just thanks, Jerry, for being willing to just throw something out there in the hallway when we were talking. shout out to, see if I'm forgetting anyone else. Donna, because Donna with the peer tutors, man, that's overwhelming as well. I was very impressed. That was cool. And quickly, a shout out again to Shauna. Wow, Shauna, you guys know it, but she's awesome, and I'd be dead if it wasn't for her. So let's just talk a couple of things here if I can, and I put them on paper just so that I would make sure I remembered them. But again, the calendar for the week, please check my email. Roundtable thoughts, and one of the things I want to say is I'm calling it roundtable. So our idea is that we want to become excellent in everything, and the only way we can become excellent is to reflect and see what we've done, what went well, and how can we do it better. And I know that that sometimes that's not always easy, but I think it's worth doing really daily for every person, and to me it's on those big items as well. So the iPad rollout, how can we make it better? Think about that as I'm walking the building. I'll pick your brain and just say, hey, what do you think of the iPad rollout? Jerry Brown had a good idea that maybe next year we do it by grade levels so that we don't have all 675 kids hitting the network at once. And that seems doable, I think. But again, keep that in your mind. I will do roundtables all the time after Tuesday night, which is the big the open house night. Again, that's going to be interesting because I don't even know exactly what that looks like. But I'll ask for us to think about that and how can we improve it? Is there a way to make it better? Maybe it's great the way it is, but I always think it's worth looking in and checking that out. I put this graphic back up here for a minute just because we talked about this at our in-service meeting, but this was Tom Albert's idea of how last week and this week would go. I'm going to go and get in every classroom. I'm going to say hi to every teacher. I'm going to witness everything that's going on. And there's where I ended up, which was right here. And after the rain last night, I hope I can get there. But ultimately, it's just taking a lot longer than my mind visioned of trying to get everything that we need to get done. And again, I thank you, Shauna, for helping me because it just is just a bit overwhelming for the things that I don't know. So I will get in the classrooms. I will try and see you, but I do want to call in this week. One of my goals is to make sure I get everyone in that has not come in to visit with me because I want to get to know you, and I just want to give you that same opportunity. I think that's only fair to you. Evaluations, we'll get that information out to people. It almost appears like everyone's being evaluated. I know that's not the truth, but when looking at the list, it's like who's not being evaluated this year. I already talked about tomorrow night's open house. Please, one of those sidebars. So I know that Craig sent out a list for people, and in that list it was each week someone would roam the halls making sure students were not in the hallways. I will get that list out, but this week I'm going to ask everyone to kind of pitch in. Now I realize that as we're starting the homework process, kids need to come in for help, and I appreciate you doing that. It's important. But if you don't have kids in your room, I'd like everyone just to kind of help us because I think, kids will rise to our expectation. Our expectation is they're not going to be in the hallway unless they're there to see a teacher for a reason. And so if you can help us with that, we can get a strong week again out of that. I think I would like to be in the gym one more week just because I want to continue that whole process that's going on there. And I think that's important if we can let them know that you're not going to be doing this because it's not what we practice at HMS. I think we can nip it in the bud early. So I would appreciate your help with that this week, and then I'll get a list out next week. I really think it's something we're going to have to do because Friday we had lots of issues with kids just roaming the halls, and so we got them back in the gym. But again, we need help with that. If you can, that'd be great. Trying to think what else. I kind of forgot what I was going to talk about on a couple of other issues, but it must not be that important or else I'm extremely tired. I will say the lunchroom was a big deal in terms of wow factor for me. Keep in mind, knowing where I came from, the most I spent in any lunchroom setting was 30 minutes. And so 2 hours of that and just to witness how it went down. And hats off to Shauna, watching her work the magic. And hats off to, again, a shout out there for Derek Bixman because he helped us out tremendously. He caught onto the system way faster than I did. In fact, I think I ruined it twice. But we're going to get better tomorrow, and every day is a new day, and so I'll forgive myself for last week. And I've got gratitude that I can try it this week, and I got hope that I'll get it right. So I'm proud of everyone. I thank you for being part of the HMS staff, and that goes for paras too. A shout out to all of our paras, because what you do is so important, and we wouldn't make it without your help. A shout out to our 3 office secretaries. They're fantastic. Again, things that they're doing behind the scenes, I really appreciate their efforts as well. Shout out to Joel and the custodians. And again, shout out to just everyone in general because of a great week. So let's kick off week number 2. Lots of things going on now, but we'll continue to add the ante to activities later. Because next week we start our activity. So have a great night. I'll talk to you later. I don't want to take any more of your time. I usually have a joke for you, but tonight we're going to stop it because I had a long weekend and just got back from a wedding. So I appreciate again your time. Good night.